when we see mortgage fraud, we are going to report it. When we see mortgage fraud, we are going to prosecute it within the confines of our duties. And we are not going to be intimidated by a subject's criminal defense lawyer. We are not going to be intimidated by a politician or just because you have an Esquire behind your name. We are not going to be intimidated.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you this content. Now, y'all, today we're going to give another update on your girl, Letitia James. You know that she is in a lot of hot water over, well, let's just say, we're not going to call it mortgage fraud, okay? I am absolutely not going to use the word mortgage fraud here today, okay? We will say alleged improprieties, okay? We have to be politically correct here. So her alleged improprieties have resulted in an investigation that is ongoing and could soon result in a criminal indictment by a grand jury. Now, the person responsible for making the referral for this investigation, his name is William Pulte, and he is a top official in the United States Housing Administration. And he recently spoke out, and he didn't have the same cut cards I have. He said, yeah, this looks like fraud. Let's take a look. But before we do, y'all, if you are nearing retirement age, or if you are concerned about protecting your hard-earned retirement, and if you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement, in your IRA, in your 401k, consider converting some or all to gold, y'all, which tends to retain value and fight inflation and monetary debasement. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com, or call 844-651 8334, 844-651-8334. Talk to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals, and they'll tell you how to protect your hard-earned nest egg.
You recommended that the DOJ investigate New York Attorney General Letitia James over alleged mortgage fraud. The AG, Letitia James, has responded. We don't have the video, but here's the quote. "This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia resident. And prior to that, I indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. They just took the power of attorney, and they're using that as a basis for enforcement of their investigation." Bill, do you know why she said she was a resident of Virginia on the power of attorney, if in fact she wasn't?
Well, I know that we are mortgage experts, and we only refer things that we think are mortgage fraud, and we stand 100% behind the letter. I'll let the letter speak for itself. I do know, and I have seen some reports from that subject, from that subject's criminal defense lawyer, saying certain things. I'll leave it to the DOJ to correct various things. But again, when we see mortgage fraud, we are going to report it. When we see mortgage fraud, we are going to prosecute it within the confines of our duties. And we are not going to be intimidated by a subject's criminal defense lawyer. We are not going to be intimidated by a politician or just because you have an Esquire behind your name. We are not going to be intimidated by people. If we see mortgage fraud, we're going to do something about it. And I think that you're going to see us be taking this on in a big way. Mortgage fraud is a big problem. These companies are safe and sound, but where we see it, we are going to do something about it. And that subject's case is no different.
So there you heard Mr. Pulte say that Letitia James claimed that this situation was a result of a mistake. So let's take a look at her explanation. We made a video about this saying that she confessed. She did confess to making the mistake. She just doesn't want that mistake to be classified as a criminal situation, or as a criminal violation, I should say. Whereas the government apparently is looking into it as just that. Let's take a look at, in her own words, her confessing to making this mistake.
This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be.
So there you have it, y'all. That's a confession as to the mistake, she said, I did it. I just didn't mean to do it, right? So again, is this the type of crime that would require a mens rea? Now, for my legal people, mens rea means a guilty mind. It means what is in your mind when you are making the mistake. So there's no dispute as to the fact that she made this mistake. She said this publicly. I don't know why she would do that, frankly, but she did it. Okay, so she's already admitted to that part. But this is likely the type of crime that would not just require the mistake, the action, which is the signing of the paper, but also the mens rea. So for everybody who's learning the law, actus reus, that's the act, okay? Mens rea is the guilty mind. I'm almost sure that this type of crime would require a guilty mind, which means not only do you sign the paper with your hand, that's the act, but in your mind, are you trying to defraud? Are you doing something that you know or should know is wrong, right? So that's probably going to be the crux of this case. And of course, y'all, Donald Trump, he gave his opinion about it. Let's take a look at what Trump had to say.
Brian, thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James. Director Polte, according to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false accounts they have on here.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia, yet she said she lived in Virginia, yet she's the New York State Attorney General, and she did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it, but I appreciate the question.
So on the side of the Trump administration, from the top guy down, it looks like they're not buying the whole mistake excuse. Even Pulte said, hey, looks like mortgage fraud to me. Take a look.
Well, what are the ramifications of this now that you've referred this for criminality to the DOJ?
Well, I would refer that to the DOJ. Again, as I say, we spend our days, we are mortgage experts. We are not politicians. I view this as an economic job. Obviously, the president can fire me at any time, so I guess in that way. But look, I look at this as an independent agency. We found the mortgage fraud, whether it be that particular subject or other subjects, and we work actively with the DOJ and different law enforcement agencies, and we will continue to do so. We are not going to be intimidated by somebody. Nobody is above the law, and that includes famous people or lawyers or what have you.
And what is your response to her saying, look, this was a mistake. I mistakenly wrote that I was a resident of Virginia?
Well, again, I don't want to respond to the specific comments that she would make or that the subject's criminal defense lawyer would make. I would just say generally that we will leave a lot of that up to the DOJ. I will say, though, however, just as a general matter, that occupancy fraud is a real issue. People saying that they're going to live in one state and going to it and really not even living there and getting better interest rates, getting better down payment terms, as well as people saying that people are part of their families that they're not. I mean, I'm making these general comments because we see patterns of this. We see patterns and practice of fraud across the United States, and this stuff has to stop, Maria.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, the banks and the lenders, they're responding to this. They're now looking at their underwriting, and that's exactly the intended effect that we want any subject who we refer to for DOJ.
All right, we'll leave it there.
All right, so now it's time for me to level with y'all. I don't want to see people go to prison for a mortgage mistake, y'all. I don't want to see that. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, but this is what she did to Trump, so now it's her turn. That's the problem. Isn't that really the problem? I mean, if we're all being reasonable, right? If we're just being reasonable and you say, hey, somebody signs a document, they didn't read it well, should they go to prison for that? You would normally just say, probably not, right? They aren't trying to defraud you. They aren't trying to get over on you. In fact, in a previous document, they made it clear that they weren't going to be a resident of this state. But in a subsequent document, they signed it. We don't want to send them to prison, do we? But then you say, well, what if that same person had worked hard to send other people to prison and take all of their assets for similar things? Now, how do you see it? Then you might say, well, so it changed. The whole complexion of everything changes because of who she is and what she's done in the past. And that's strange to me. Justice should not work that way. But it does, because in your heart of hearts, you're like, man, if you were doing that to other people and now it's your turn, you better make sure you squeaky clean, right? So that's the weird thing about all of this, is that if it's just a neutral person, you'd say, I mean, is there a fine that they could pay? Might they have to refinance at today's rate so they don't get to continue to benefit? There might be some adequate penalty, but prison, 8 years in prison. But then you say, well, what if this person was throwing other people in prison for the same thing? Then you say, oh, well, that changes things now, doesn't it? I'd like to hear what y'all have to say. Let me know in the comments, y'all. Drop a comment down below, but before you do, please stop, hit the share button, share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of your favorite, least favorite, and moderately favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. I want to thank y'all for watching. Hey, y'all, listen, I'm beating now I'm a drum beater, okay? I'm a drum beater and I'm beating it on, if you have a retirement, look into gold to protect that retirement. When everything starts falling, y'all, don't say paralegal should have listened to you. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. Put in your information so you can speak to my people at Augusta Precious Metals, and also read the material. Aren't we a reading people? Right? I think I have an educated audience, I hope. Or call 844-651-8334. If they're closed, y'all leave a message. They'll call you back, okay? Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And we'll see you back in the next one.